President Joe Biden kicked off his administration by signing a bunch of executive orders. I mean, this was a lot. This was a stack of executive orders, lots of them. In fact, some of them are incredibly based and very good. In fact, you've got mask mandates, you've got the canceling of Keystone XL pipeline, you're pausing student loan payments and interest until September. I think that he should cancel them, but hey, at least this is a good step. He killed the racist 1776 commission that glorified slavery, banned workplace discrimination based on sexual orientation and gender identity, ended the Muslim ban, required non-citizens to be counted in the census, so you have a more fair and accurate census count, and of course, he rejoined the Paris Climate Agreement, among many other things. So, like Joe or not, these are some good things. I am for good things. I am against bad things. All right? Now, Senator Ted Cruz, however, is for bad things and not for good things. And so he's going to make a ridiculous comparison and a ridiculous statement on rejoining the Paris Climate Agreement. So here we go. Cruz had argued in a statement that rejoining the agreement would result in a sustained loss of U.S. jobs, and that by signing the order, President Biden indicates that he is more interested in the views of citizens of Paris than in the jobs of the citizens of Pittsburgh. Quote, rejoining the Paris Agreement will do little to affect the climate and will harm the livelihoods of everyday Americans all across the country. What? That doesn't make any sense. While I agree the Paris Climate Agreement actually, needs to be more aggressive. Well, he doesn't say that. I think that it should be more aggressive. Ted Cruz, his criticism is not at all based in reality. It's actually really, really dumb. In fact, this international agreement is actually not designed to appeal to people living in Paris. At least not only to people in Paris. It actually benefits everybody with cleaner air and less impacts of climate change. In fact, okay. Before I get into more details about this, I just gotta ask: does Ted Cruz, what does he think climate change is? Does he think it's like localized? Like, oh man, if we do things here in America, and we don't do anything about climate change here in America, then the climate in America gets worse. But if we do something about it, then it makes it better just in America. That means that the Chinese decide to burn more coal, it's only going to affect China. What? No, that doesn't work. I mean, these are important questions, right? I'm trying to figure out how much of an idiot Ted Cruz actually is. But all right, anyway, substance, right? Substance. So the whole argument is, well, it'll cost jobs. If we do the non-binding Paris Climate Agreement, it's going to cost Pittsburgh jobs, right? Well, how do I know that it won't? Because that's my argument, okay? Well, here's how I know. Because Pittsburgh's already done it. Pittsburgh has already exceeded its commitment to the Paris Climate Accord and already met its 2030 goal of 100% renewable energy for city operators, or for city operations, according to the city's Democratic mayor, Bill Peduto. In fact, the mayor was really mad when Donald Trump pulled out of the original agreement, and he actually teamed up with Mayor Anne Hidalgo of Paris. So now, here's their joint statement. You'll love this. As mayor of Pittsburgh, I was elected to represent the citizens of Pittsburgh, not Paris. And she responds, as mayor of Paris, I was elected to represent the citizens of Paris, not Pittsburgh. But the only way to do right by Pittsburghers and Parisians is to abide by the principles of the Paris Agreement, which guarantees the future health and prosperity of both of our cities and every other city in the world. Pittsburgh also is part of Allegheny County, which overwhelmingly voted for Joe Biden, as well as Hillary Clinton. Now, Pittsburgh did go to Donald Trump back in 2016. I'm sorry, Pennsylvania went to Donald Trump in 2016, but then, of course, flipped over to Biden. And so, you know why? It's because it turns out not only was Donald Trump a ridiculous con man, but also Democrats do better with the economy. Democrats actually do better for jobs. And so I know it's going to blow some people's minds because there's this common narrative, right, being spread by conservatives like Republicans. They're just better for jobs. Historically, that's not actually true. In fact, history does show, and facts, that economic growth happens more often under Democrats than it does Republicans. In fact, since President Dwight Eisenhower took office in 1953, the economy, as measured by the GDP, unemployment, inflation, and number of recessions, has typically performed better with a Democrat in the White House. GDP growth is higher, inflation has been lower, and unemployment has tended to fall as opposed to Republican administrations. According to data collected by the National Bureau of Economic Research, Democrats are also better at avoiding recessions, although we tend to inherit them. Obama with George H.W. Bush's recession, and now, of course, Biden with the Trump recession. So there's that. In fact, from 1953 to 2020, Republicans controlled the White House for 480 months, the majority of the time, about 23% of which were spent in recession. Democratic presidents were in charge for 336 months in that period, and just 4% were in recession. So now the one thing that they can point to a recession was under President Jimmy Carter. That was in 1980. This is the only one that actually began with a president in office. The rest of them were caused by Republicans when Republicans were in office. And look, sometimes it's their fault with deregulation. Other times it's not. Other times, for example, there's fluctuations in oil prices, other external factors such as that. But generally, the policies of Republicans with massive deregulation in financial markets tends to lead us to end up in a recession later on. So now, that said, oil prices, it's a very interesting that it mentions oil prices as well as being a leading cause of, or a possible cause of going into recession. If we go to renewable energy, locally produced, there's American energy, from the sun, such as what is suggested by the Paris Climate Agreement, then we wouldn't be as dependent on foreign sources of oil that have these price shocks, okay? And so, unfortunately for Ted Cruz, some of his biggest donors are in oil and gas. And so, he wouldn't be happy about this, going to renewable energy. That's why he doesn't like the Paris Climate Agreement. That's why he hates things like the Green New Deal. And so overall, he's 100% wrong. Paris Climate Agreement, it's actually a good thing. And I actually wish we would go towards a Green New Deal. In fact, that is supposed to help create millions of good paying jobs, also make us energy independent, which is a good thing, reduce the threat of disastrous climate change, which is expected to cost our country by 2025 over $500 billion a year in things like damages. And so that's according to projections by the National Resources Defense Council. So it turns out the cost of not doing something on climate change, not doing these things, is actually far greater than any potential costs that people like Ted Cruz love to throw out. It's just not true. We should absolutely be back in the deal, and we should absolutely push for more, push for better, to not only do well by our citizens, but also to our environment as well. If you enjoyed this video, please give us a like and share with your friends. You can subscribe and help out the channel by becoming a patron. It's patreon.com/Jeff Waldorf, or you can become a channel member as well by hitting the join button below.